Part 53. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 522. OK, Len Ning smiled and nodded. This domineering and jealous look really resembles a certain person. Well, although they are not related by blood and are not the same breed, according to the name, they are considered father and son. Thinking of this evil idea, Len Ning couldn't help but laugh again. Xiaoman followed happily and shook the leaves. How can I accept it? Len Ning put away his smile and prepared to get down to business. Just let it concentrate its power to generate seeds. When the time comes, Mother will directly take the seeds and stimulate them in the sea of consciousness space, Xiaoman said. Len Ning was stunned. So, you were like this in the last life? I was a little surprised. She always thought that Xiaoman was created from scratch by her. Now that I heard the news, I felt a little complicated. If Xiaoman was such a mutated plant before, does it still have the memory of before it turned into a seed, or might it have had another owner? Of course not. Xiaoman is a real plant seed and his mother's good baby. Xiaoman rubbed Len Ning's wrist coquettishly. Len Ning was stunned. Then laughed. How come there are so many wood-type mutants with superpowers in the world, and Xiaoman has such a naive and simple mind, and he doesn't seem to have a lot of memories? Then how do you know this? Len Ning asked Xiaoman with a smile. Xiaoman's flower plate tilted. Anyway, I just know it, it's innately clear. Maybe it has something to do with Mom being Xiaoman's owner, Xiaoman explained, as if he was afraid that Len Ning wouldn't believe him. Did you control my rebirth? Len Ning then asked. Although she was asking, she was basically convinced that it was because of Xiaoman. There is too little information about the prehistoric creature sky-swallowing vine, and many things are extremely difficult to explain scientifically. Before the end of the world, the research on the sky-swallowing vine had an extremely strong magical and religious color. Yes. Instinct tells me that I should do this. Only in this way can both my mother and I survive, Xiaoman said seriously. As soon as it became intelligent, the mother used it to kill her mother who turned into a zombie, and then used it to commit suicide. It is its mother's spiritual pet. Although it does not want to, it cannot go against its mother's will and can only carry out orders. But when the mother dies, it will die too. At the moment of life and death, it suddenly automatically performed some operations and brought mother back to life. In fact, it didn't know exactly what it did at that time, but it just happened. Maybe it's a kind of inheritance. Looking at Len Ning's frowning and contemplative look, Xiaoman Nyonyo said. It should be the natural inheritance of its race. Len Ning nodded, looked at Xiaoman, and finally stopped being entangled. I seem to be able to hear the sound of the locust tree. Then he continued to explain to Xiaoman. Haha, Mom and I have the same mind, so naturally I can hear it, Xiaoman said with a smile. But I don't understand its language. Len Ning's face became clearer. This is simple. Xiaoman can tell it to his mother. Xiaoman shook the leaves and said with a bit of pride. Len Ning nodded, so he didn't have to worry about communication with the acacia tree. But, this little guy is so jealous, can he really translate everything? Haha, forget it, let's talk about this later. How to make it generate seeds? Len Ning asked directly. Although the combat effectiveness of this acacia tree is far inferior to that of Xiaoman, it is definitely a big killer when released. With it, she will be stronger. Mom, look at me, Xiaoman said proudly. At the same time, Xiaoman in the real world grew a huge flower disc from the top of a thick vine. I saw the flower disc flying directly above the bare trunk of the acacia tree, making a harsh sound. The poor acacia branches trembled, and then the branches began to gather strength, and a seed as big as a goose egg grew from the strongest branch. Then Xiaoman's flower plate disappeared instantly, and the vines carried Len Ning towards the acacia tree seeds. At the same time, Len Ning saw that the acacia tree began to dry up quickly, and the branches and trunk began to lose moisture and vitality at an extremely fast speed. By the time Len Ning took out the seeds, the entire acacia tree had become dead wood. Allowing Xiaoman to send him back to the road, Len Ning finally recovered from the shock. If such a thing were done in ancient times, it would probably be regarded as a plant becoming a spirit. The seed she got in her hand was the inner elixir of the plant spirit. After sending the seed into the sea of spiritual consciousness, Len Ning began to give birth to the acacia tree seed under Xiaoman's gaze. The process went smoothly, and in less than a minute, the small acacia sapling grew. Squeak, squeak, the little locust sapling was very happy to see Len Ning, and immediately rushed towards Len Ning. Unfortunately, Xiaoman kicked him away before he even touched Len Ning's body. Hizzy, the little locust sapling was very aggrieved and immediately came towards Len Ning again. It's just that this time it was obviously not as excited and reckless as before. It walked very slowly and did not dare to get close to Len Ning after getting closer. From now on, I will be the boss and you will be the second child. Except for Mom, do whatever I ask you to do. Xiaoman wrapped his arms around Len Ning's wrist and said condescendingly to the humble locust sapling on the ground. Len Ning. Zhizzy, zhizzy, the little locust sapling shook its leaves and made a small sound. It's good that you know. You'd better behave yourself from now on, or I'll kill you and throw you out at any time. Xiaoman continued to lecture his younger brother. Cough, seeing that the little locust sapling was already trembling, Len Ning coughed lightly, interrupting Xiaoman's threatening words. Hearing Len Ning's voice, Xiaoman immediately turned his face and looked at Len Ning. When I don't say anything, Xiaoman is the boss. Be good and I won't treat you badly, Len Ning said solemnly. It was not easy to get Xiaoman to agree to accept the locust tree. Although she felt that Xiaoman's attitude was arrogant, she could not refute Xiaoman's face in front of the locust tree. Saying this, first of all, it affirmed Xiaoman's status and reassured Xiaoman. Secondly, it is also the heart of an Huishu. Sure enough, after listening to Len Ning's words, Xiaoman's face rose high again, with a look like see clearly, I am my mother's son. Zhizzy, zhizzy, Yang Hui said respectfully. Squeak, 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 squeak. Then he said another sentence. What did it say? Len Ning asked Xiaoman. Say it knows, and ask Mom to give it a name, Xiaoman said unhappily. Name? Let's call her Xiaohui. Len Ning thought for a while and said. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Xiaohui immediately shook its leaves excitedly. TCH. Why are you so happy? It's far worse than my name, Xiaoman said arrogantly. Len Ning. Okay, we'll be a family from now on. You guys get to know each other well, and I'll go see if the car is damaged, Len Ning said with a smile. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 523. It's all your fault. If I damaged my mother's car, you'd be the one to look good. Xiaoman immediately looked at Xiaohui angrily. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Xiaohui lowered its leaves and didn't dare to look at Xiaoman anymore. Len Ning glanced at the two cuties and exited the consciousness sea space. These two little ones, let them get along on their own. Xiaohui is new, and Xiaoman has a domineering personality. If she interferes too much, it will be detrimental to their relationship. Glancing at the off-road vehicle with its chassis facing upward in the open space, Len Ning sighed and walked towards the off-road vehicle. Mom, I'm coming. Without waiting for Len Ning to call, Xiaoman quickly transformed into a vine, turned the heavy off-road vehicle over, and returned it to the road. Len Ning smiled and directly fed Xiaoman 2 crystal nuclei. Xiaoman's small flower plate was raised high, and his excitement was clearly evident. Squeak, 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 Xiaohui said enviously to Xiaoman in the consciousness sea space. It's not even dinner time yet. This is a reward from my mother. It's not your fault, Xiaoman rushed back to the consciousness space and said proudly to Xiaohui. Zhizi, Zhizi, Xiaohui continued. Why are you so anxious? Mom hasn't eaten yet, so it's not your turn, Xiaoman continued to be annoyed. Squeak, 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 squeak. Mom has too many crystal nuclei to keep you hungry. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Take good care of me as my little brother, and follow my mother to eat and drink hot food. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Listening to the conversation in the consciousness space, Len Ning couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Maybe she doesn't need to worry. Judging from this situation, the two children will get to know each other soon. Thinking of this, Len Ning stopped wasting time and began to inspect the off-road vehicle. After confirming that there was no damage to the exterior, Len Ning opened the door and got in the car. After getting in the car, I checked the situation inside the car and found that except for the damage to the window, everything was normal. Start the car and Len Ning continues the test. I found that I was lucky, the car should still be able to run. He raised his wrist and looked at his watch and found that it was already 4:30. Thinking that the time she had agreed with Ding Wei was 6 o'clock, and it would still take a long time for her to drive back, she gave up her plan to continue exploring. No matter what, the road conditions were bad and the car had an accident. If the car breaks down on the road later, it would be really troublesome to walk back on foot. It's better to wait until you are fully prepared next time to explore the road. Thinking of this, Len Ning chose to turn around. Then, start your return journey along the way you came. The trip out was not in vain, as Xiaohui became a new spiritual pet. Len Ning was still a little happy. Ding Wei has been waiting for a long time at the Kongzhen garrison point. Seeing the time passing by, and half an hour until 6 o'clock, he felt very anxious. The hall master left Kongzhen alone. If something happened outside, he would be responsible. Suddenly, the sound of a car came. Ding Wei looked happy, stood on the tower and looked into the distance, and he saw an off-road vehicle appearing. I was disappointed when I saw it was an off-road vehicle. But when the off-road vehicle approached and the people on the vehicle stuck their heads out to say hello to him, he relaxed. The hall master is really back. It's just that the car she drives has changed. Ding Wei quickly ordered the soldiers to open the city gate. Len Ning returned to Kongzhen smoothly. Hall master, Ding Wei hurriedly came down from the tower. Thank you for your hard work, Len Ning said to Ding Wei as he got out of the car. I haven't finished exploring the road outside yet. I'll take another trip in a few days, Len Ning said to Ding Wei with a smile. Ding Wei looked worriedly at Len Ning's car window. What happened to the hall master? He then asked anxiously. Len Ning followed Ding Wei's gaze and then smiled. Oh, I didn't pay attention and rolled over on the road. It's not a big problem. She is not ready to publicize Xiaohui's matter yet. Ding Wei frowned and didn't ask any more questions. Looking at the condition of the car window, it was clear that it was forcibly damaged from the outside by a hard object. The hall owner said it was caused by the car rolling over. He has already asked, but the hall master is unwilling to tell, so he can't ask any more questions. When I change my shift, I'll tell the handover team that the road outside connects to the outside of the mountain. Don't take it lightly and be careful of wandering corpses, Len Ning said to Ding Wei. There must have been very few or even no zombies here before, because Xiaohui had already eliminated all the zombies that could come from the road ahead. But it's different now. Xiaohui has been adopted as her spiritual pet. In this case, sooner or later some wandering corpses will come over. Yes, Ding Wei said immediately. He has been stationed here for a short time, but he has never seen a zombie here. Other teams stationed here said that this kilometer might have been cut off from the outside world, so no zombies were seen coming. The hall master went out to explore for a while and came back, but he was told to be wary of zombies. Could something have happened? No matter what, he will do whatever the hall master tells him to do, as long as nothing goes wrong. Yeah, Len Ning nodded. Then he put the off-road vehicle into the space ring and took out the sedan. Then, he got in the car and left. Afterwards, Len Ning stopped by the repair shop and had someone give the car a comprehensive inspection. After leaving the car in the repair shop, Len Ning returned to Lei's house. Chatting with Lei's mother, waiting for Lei to come home. Since falling in love with Len Ning, Lei rarely works overtime. After get off work, he would either go on a date with his Xiaoning or go home early to have dinner with Xiaoning and his mother. After dinner, I will find a chance to spend time with my sweetheart. Sure enough, Thunder got off work very early today. After the family had dinner, the brother and sister went upstairs one after another tacitly. The one leaving today is Len Ning. After going upstairs, Len Ning looked around to make sure no one was there, and immediately hurried to Lei Ting's room. As soon as he entered the door, Lei, who was reading documents inside, put down his official duties. Come here then, he opened his arms and said to the person at the door. Len Ning's face lit up with joy, and he immediately ran over happily and threw himself into Lei Ting's arms. Brother, did you miss me today? Then he asked coquettishly. With a smile on his face, Lei pressed a kiss on Len Ning's forehead. I want to. What about you? You guess. Len Ning smiled and picked up Lei Ting's big hand and played with it, feeling sweet in his heart. Haha. Lei held the baby in his arms and smiled extremely satisfied. After the two of them chatted for a while, they started talking about business. Lei took out a document. This is the share transfer agreement of Luqing Company. Take a look. Len Ning was stunned. He took the file and opened it to read. You really want to pay me 50 times the price? Len Ning was a little surprised when he saw the number above. The eldest brother is very efficient. He just said it in the morning, and now the agreement was presented to her. Yeah. If it's not enough, I can add some more anyway. Everything he has belongs to Xiaoning. He did this more just to cut off the possible frequent contact between Luqing and Xiaoning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 524. Come on. As you said before, it's up to 50 times. I'm not greedy for money, and I won't be greedy for you. Len Ning glanced at Lei Ting and said. Then he took out his pen and signed his name happily. Take this card. Lei took the agreement and put it back into his space ring. Then he handed Len Ning a card. Len Ning was startled. She recognized this card. More than a month ago, the bank opened by the military department officially opened for business. This card was issued by the bank. I heard that many people have opened accounts, including the helmsman under her. The bank's business is not much different from before the end of the world, and the business volume is very sufficient. She originally wanted to go, but she had been busy with other things and forgot about it. What is this? Len Ning didn't answer. My private account. I'll take care of it from now on, Lei said dotingly. Len Ning was stunned. How much is there? Then he asked with a smile. I haven't calculated it. However, it should be tens of millions, Lei said truthfully. Since the establishment of the Thunder base, he has successively purchased many properties. Although most of them were coordinated by the military finance department, some were recorded as his personal property. The money in the card is the income from the private property account. This time he paid for the shares of Luqing's company from Xiaoning, and he also used a private account. The book said that leaving money to his wife for safekeeping would be more conducive to family harmony. Sooner or later, he would give this card to Xiaoning. Len Ning's eyes sparkled. Aren't you afraid that I'll spend all your money on you? Then he looked at Lei arrogantly and said. There will continue to be income, and you won't be able to spend all your money, Lei Ting said. You are confident? Len Ning curled his lips. Does this give us some new ideas for the fifth branch? Lei Lei was stunned. This is a private property account. It is financially independent from the military department. The power of disposal is yours. The four-color group has no right to express objections, Lei Lei said calmly. Len Ning's eyes lit up. Haha, it seems it's not unreasonable for them to protect you so much, then he muttered. Look, he didn't even care that she used the money to subsidize the fifth branch. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning doubtfully. Lu Qing came to see me today. After I negotiated with him, I asked Li Feng to arrange the draft contract. Len Ning glanced at Lei Ting and said, when I sent Lu Qing away, that guy actually reminded me to pay attention to my sense of propriety, fearing that I would empathize. Don't fall in love. Lei Lei was startled. Then a flash of admiration flashed in his eyes. Are you proud now? Len Ning looked at Lei Lei with a sad look on his face. Lei Lei hugged Len Ning's waist tightly and shook him. It's a bit beyond my expectation, then he said with a smile. Li Feng? This person is quite interesting. If there is a chance, the people below can take more care of him. I didn't know until today. You really have evil intentions, Len Ning said angrily. Sinister? Lei Lei asked with a smile. Isn't it just sinister? Len Ning glared at Lei Lei. I asked you, a superior base master, why do you have to attend major gatherings of the fifth branch with me every time? It turns out that this is what happened. Abacus. Haha, this is not a calculation, Lei Lei laughed out loud. What is it if it's not an abacus? Seeing Lei Lei laughing, Len Ning became even more angry. It represents the importance I attach to you. Lei Lei put his head next to Len Ning's ear and said softly. They turn to me because I am good to you. They recognize me as a partner worthy of you. Len Ning's heart trembled. Thunder's breath sprayed on her earlobes, making her body feel weak. Realizing something was wrong, Len Ning quickly came to his senses and jumped off Lei Ting. Then he hurriedly ran to the sofa next to him and sat down. A look of loss flashed across Lei Lei's face. Hey, I really don't know when this sweet torture will end. There's something else I want to tell you. Len Ning noticed Lei Lei's expression and wanted to snicker, but held back. What's the matter? Lei Lei put away the messy kisi and asked Len Ning. I was bored in the afternoon, so I went out from the first garrison point in Kongzhen and explored the road for a while, Len Ning said. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning, waiting for her next words. Before the end of the world, Kongzhen was a relatively special town in City A. Strictly speaking, this place actually belonged to the main city, but its location was much more remote than other places in the main city. The main reason is that there are too many mountains around Kongzhen, which blocks the transportation between Kongzhen and the outside world. Before the end of the world, the government actually had plans and built some roads to connect Kongzhen with the outside world, especially with the main city. In fact, by the time of the end of the world, Kongzhen was no longer a very remote town. The squad leader at the garrison told me that the road from there can lead to City B. Len Ning continued. Lei Lei was stunned. There was finally a little more meaning in his eyes. Then, before Len Ning could continue to speak, Lei Lei took out his special tablet computer from his space ring. Click on the map and start looking for the road where the first garrison point mentioned by Len Ning is located. Soon, the Thunder found the way. Indeed. Starting from Kongzhen, follow this mountain road for about 15 kilometers, and you can get on the G25 expressway, and then take the G25 expressway directly to the urban area of B City, Lei Lei said with some excitement. Sooner or later, they have to contact the outside world, and City B is adjacent to City A. If the road to City B can be opened, it will be of great help. He had been busy planning the Thunder base itself before, and then planning the safe zone. He had not yet considered contacting City B. The reason is not only that the current focus is indeed on City A itself, but also because of road congestion. Now, the city is already dominated by zombies. Most of the way to City B is blocked by groups of zombies. At the same time, there have been many natural disasters in the last half year or so, and many roads have been severely damaged and difficult to pass. Although the road Xiaoning discovered was very likely to be destroyed, it perfectly avoided the zombie swarm. At the same time, the road from Kongzhen to the G25 expressway is almost entirely straight, with very few twists and turns. It can be said to be the shortest route. This alone is enough to make people excited. It's a pity that the 15 kilometers of road are in dilapidated condition and not easy to walk, Len Ning continued. I've tried it, and ordinary cars can't pass it at all. Off-road vehicles can go, but some places are too dangerous and the risk of getting on the road is still very high. If necessary, we can arrange for people to repair it when the time comes, Lei Lei said directly. Len Ning raised the corners of his mouth. Don't worry yet. The road is clear, I'm afraid the zombies are coming too. Previously, there were very few zombies at the first garrison point. Firstly, it was because Xiao Huai blocked them at the intersection, and secondly, the road conditions were not good, which blocked some zombies. Ye Thunder nodded. When I went to explore the road, I still gained a lot, Len Ning continued in high spirits. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 525. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning. Let me show you, Len Ning said and released Xiao Huai directly. Gigi, Xiao Huai found that he had left Len Ning's sea of consciousness space for no reason and appeared in a strange environment again, feeling a little confused. Standing in mid-air, Chong Len Ning asked. When Lei Lei saw Xiao Huai's appearance, he didn't take it seriously at first, thinking that Xiao Huai was Xiao Man. But it only took a moment for him to realize that this little sapling was not Xiaoman. This is it, he immediately asked Len Ning. It's Xiao Huai, my new spiritual pet, Len Ning immediately introduced to Lei Lei. Lei Lei looked at Xiao Huai flying onto Len Ning's arm, feeling a little surprised. This thing is just like Xiaoman, it doesn't seem to be a mortal thing. At least, he looks smart. I found it while exploring the road. Its true form is a locust tree that is over 300 years old. After the apocalypse, it transformed into a mutated plant and gained some intelligence. Len Ning touched the leaves of the small locust tree and said to Lei Lei. Mutated plant, Lei Lei was shocked. At the beginning of the apocalypse, Xiao Ning once mentioned to him that some terrifying mutant plants would appear 4 or 5 years after the apocalypse, which would be extremely lethal. Both humans and zombies would be threatened by these mutant plants. But it's only been more than half a year since the end of the world, and mutated plants have appeared so early? Ye Len Ning smiled and let Xiao Huai fall into his palm. Xiao Huai was extremely obedient. Not only did she jump into Len Ning's palm, she also happily fell down and rubbed the leaves against Len Ning's palm. Suddenly, a green vine with a flower plate appeared and kicked Xiao Huai away. Fortunately, Lei Lei had quick eyes and quick hands and caught it, preventing it from flying out and hitting the wall. Mom is mine. Who allowed you to rub her palm? Xiaoman said angrily. After being pinched by Lei Lei, poor little Huai stood in the palm of Lei Lei's hand. His body was trembling and he looked very scared. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Humph. There's no point in admitting your mistake, Xiaoman said angrily. Gigi, Xiao Huai continued to say to Xiao Man. What did you do earlier? Xiaoman was still very angry. Ahem. Len Ning quickly interrupted the conversation between Xiaoman and Xiao Huai. Are they talking? Lei Lei glanced at the little Sephora japonica on his palm, then looked at Xiao Man, and asked Len Ning in confusion. To be precise, we were quarreling. Len Ning glanced at Xiaoman and sighed. We just started contacting each other, so it's not very harmonious. Only she can hear the sounds made by Xiaoman and Xiao Huai. The eldest brother is a thunder power user and can only see the phenomena. Can you communicate with them? Lei Lei asked in shock. There is no problem in communicating with Xiaoman. Xiao Huai can only hear its voice for the time being, Len Ning said. However, when Xiao Huai improves his strength, he can also communicate with me. It's quite magical. Lei Lei couldn't help but look at the little Sephora japonica in his hand. Xiao Huai held the leaves and looked at Thunder. Brother Xiaoman said that this man is the owner's boyfriend and future husband, so he can be regarded as their male owner. The male master is really good looking. Among humans, he is the only one who is better looking than him. Like Xiaoman, it also eats crystal nuclei. Lei Lei couldn't help but raise the corners of his lips. Yeah, Len Ning replied with a smile. Lei Lei suddenly became interested and took out 2 second-order crystal nuclei from his space ring. Xiao Huai, who was originally stunned, started dancing when he saw the crystal core in Lei Ting's hand. Squeak, 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 squeak. Xia stretched up, trying to reach Lei Ting's hand and grab the crystal core to eat. Xiaoman, who was on Len Ning's wrist, was very angry when he saw this scene. Don't eat my father's crystal core, he immediately yelled at Xiao Huai. Xiao Huai was frightened by Xiao Man, and immediately took back Xiao Xia, not daring to move. Xiaoman's flower plate swayed twice, and he looked at the crystal core in Lei Ting's hand, his mouth full of greed. But he didn't have the guts to go to Lei Ting to ask for the crystal core. Dad's strength is so scary that he almost destroyed him last time without using the power of thunder and lightning. It's okay to confront others, but he doesn't have the guts to confront his father. With a smile on his face, Lei Lei sent a crystal core to Xiao Huai. But the strange thing was that Xiao Huai didn't come forward as he thought, but instead stepped back hesitantly. What's wrong? Lei Lei looked at Len Ning. Len Ning glanced at Xiaoman, then got angry and said to Lei Ting in a funny way, your son is jealous. Son. Lei Lei suspected that he heard wrongly. He and Xiao Ning are not married yet, so where did their son come from? Len Ning raised her arm and poked Xiaoman, wrapped around her arm with her finger. Hey. Xiaoman is our son, then he said with a smile. Lei Lei was stunned. Then laughed. Then he took out a large bowl of crystal nuclei from the space ring. The two spiritual pets immediately looked at the crystal core, unable to look away or move. Go Len Ning smiled and poked Xiaoman's vine again. Xiaoman was stunned. Huapan looked at the large bowl of crystal nuclei and almost drooled. Then, he forgot everything in his mind and immediately flew to Thunder. He kicked Xiao Huai away and occupied the position in Lei Lei's palm. Lei Lei frowned slightly. This son is very domineering. Xiaoman noticed Lei Ting's expression and instantly stood on the spot, not daring to move. Tell it, the crystal core is for two of them, and they are not allowed to eat alone, Lei Lei said to Len Ning. Since he is his son, it is not okay to be so domineering. Len Ning immediately conveyed Lei Ting's intention to Xiaoman. Dad doesn't like me, Xiaoman said angrily. He looked at Lei Lei with some anger, but he didn't dare to get angry at him. If he doesn't like you, he won't give you the crystal core, Len Ning said. Leave the distribution rights to it. It can eat more, but it can't eat it all. Seeing Xiaoman, who seemed to be in a wrong mood, Lei Lei continued. He had already discovered that this little thing had a bad temper. If he were really his human son, he didn't know how many beatings he would receive from him. Len Ning expressed Lei Ting's intention to Xiaoman with a smile. Xiaoman's flower disc immediately raised up, and the leaves trembled excitedly several times. It was obviously expressing joy for Thunder. Since you are my son, you must be more generous. Take good care of your mother and love your brother. Don't embarrass me, Lei Lei said to Xiaoman seriously. Len Ning looked at the scene in front of him and felt very interesting. Seeing Xiaoman turning the flower plate and looking at him, he relayed Lei Ting's words to Xiaoman. Xiaoman was a little confused. The flower disc moved, as if thinking about Lei Ting's words. Brother, do you want to take care of your younger brother? Xiaoman asked Len Ning after a while. Len Ning raised the corners of his lips and looked at Lei Lei. Your dad was my brother before he became my boyfriend. Our family relies entirely on him to make it this far, then he said to Xiaoman. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 526. Xiaoman was silent again. But mom and dad are Xiaoman, so it has nothing to do with it, then he said to Len Ning as if he remembered something. Len Ning was stunned. What a smart little thing. It seems that there is a long way to go before Xiaoman accepts Xiao Huai. If mom and dad give birth to a younger brother or sister in the future, Xiaoman will take good care of it, Xiaoman said firmly to Len Ning. Len Ning was startled. There was a deep feeling of emotion in my heart. What did it say? Lei saw Len Ning and Xiaoman looking at each other for a long time, but ignored him and asked Len Ning. Len Ning came back to his senses. Xiaoman said that he is our son, and Xiao Huai is just a spiritual pet. He will be the elder brother of our future children. Len Ning did not hide anything, and directly said what Xiaoman told him. Lei was stunned. I was wrong. It looks a bit like me, he then said. Len Ning. Brother, what's that expression? The way he looks at Xiaoman is really like looking at his own son. Although he is not your brother, he is your most loyal subordinate. You must treat your subordinates with grace, kindness, and power, and cannot be blindly arrogant and unreasonable. Lei looked at Xiaoman again. Len Ning was very shocked. The eldest brother actually educated Xiaoman as if he were a child. Tell it. Lei looked at Len Ning domineeringly. As if he were the head of the family. Len Ning subconsciously cooperated with Lei Ting's request. After hearing what Len Ning said, Xiaoman was stunned again. Then he lifted the flower plate and looked straight at Lei. Its father is the strongest among humans. Mom said that dad is so powerful not only because of his own powerful abilities, but also because he has many capable subordinates. Even my mother is one of my father's subordinates. Thinking of this, Xiaoman looked at Xiao Huai, who was hiding not far away and only dared to peek at it secretly. Mom has accepted Xiao Huai, and Xiao Huai is now her little brother. My mother also has little brothers. She is very good to her little brothers, and her little brothers also give many things back to her mother. Thinking of this, Xiaoman suddenly realized. Mom, I understand. I will never target Xiao Huai again, Xiaoman finally said to Len Ning. Len Ning was a little shocked. Xiaoman will be a good boss and take Xiao Huai to protect his mother, Xiaoman said firmly. Was it actually broadcast on demand like this? Is Xiaoman's IQ really just that of a child? Isn't this understanding and absorption ability too strong? An eldest brother, he actually has the potential to be a teacher? Come here. I'll give you 1/3, without looking at Len Ning, Xiaoman waved to the little locust tree not far away, shaking its leaves. Xiao Huai moved his body away from the cup on the coffee table and looked at the large bowl of crystal nuclei, a little longing for it, but still did not dare to go there. I won't be mean to you anymore. Come here, Xiaoman said to Xiao Huai childishly. Xiao Huai finally found the courage to move slowly towards Xiaoman's direction. After seeing that Xiaoman really didn't move much, he sped up and flew to Xiaoman's side. Xiaoman grew a tentacle and began to distribute crystal nuclei. Looking at this scene, Lei was quite pleased. He gave Len Ning a okay smile. Len Ning nodded. At this moment, I really admire Lei. Soon, Xiaoman divided the crystal nuclei in the big bowl into 2 piles. These are years after dividing them, Xiaoman pointed at the smaller pile of crystal nuclei with his tentacle. When Xiao Huai heard this, the leaves immediately trembled with excitement. It seems that I am very satisfied with Xiaoman's distribution result. Xiaoman raised the flower plate and glanced at Xiao Huai, picked up a crystal core with his tentacles, put it into his flower plate, and started eating directly. Don't eat it all in one go. Save your food, so you don't get greedy later. When he was eating the second crystal core, Xiaoman said to Xiao Huai like he was a stranger. Len Ning. Fortunately, she had the nerve to ask Xiaohui to save some time, but she had never seen it retain food after eating. Zhizi, Xiaohui replied excitedly. Then a white flower disc grew on the small branch. Then, just like Xiaoman, he happily took the crystal core with his tentacles and put it into his flower plate. Lei Lei looked at the scene in front of him and found it extremely novel. After raising such two gluttons, Xiaoning's expenses will probably be high in the future. In the end, as Len Ning expected, both Xiaoman and Xiaohui ate up their portion of the crystal core. Keep. Impossible. The two little ones looked at Lei Lei with unfinished thoughts. But no one dared to speak to Lei Lei. Okay, that's almost it. Go back and stay. Before Lei Lei could speak, Len Ning said first. They are all big eaters and can eat as much as they are given. She usually deliberately controls things for fear of causing trouble. Today was the first time that the eldest brother recognized his son, and it was also the first time that Xiaohui met the eldest brother, so she allowed them to eat so many crystal nuclei. If it were normal, it would definitely not work. Xiaohui looked at Xiaoman pitifully. Let's go, Xiaoman said helplessly and disappeared with Xiaohui. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning doubtfully. Why is it missing? Let them go back. Otherwise, I will have to ask you for the crystal core, Len Ning said. Haha. I still have quite a few here. Lei Lei was quite generous. If you want too much, you can give it all to me, Len Ning said angrily. Don't you know she would be hated if you said this to her face? Okay, who knew that Lei Lei not only was not choked, but actually responded. Then Zhen began to take out the crystal core from the space ring. 1 bag, 2 bags, 3 bags, 8 bags. Unexpectedly, there were as many as 8 small cloth bags. At this moment, Len Ning admitted that her heart was moved. Thinking back to when she and her eldest brother killed the zombie king together, the crystal cores she got that day were 7 or 8 times the weight of her eldest brother. But even so, it can't withstand the consumption speed of Xiaoman's foodie. So far, the number of crystal nuclei she has left is only twice as many as her elder brother's. No, now a new foodie has arrived, and the food reserves may soon be in short supply. Only a few thunder type ones are left, the rest are all here, Lei Lei said with a smile. He rarely goes out, and these crystal nuclei were all given to him by his men after they cleaned up the battlefield where he killed zombies. Because the portion given to the military was deducted, he didn't have much left. Then I'm welcome, Len Ning looked at Lei Lei with a smile. Anyway, Xiaoman calls his eldest brother dad, so these are considered as the upbringing fees from him. Yeah, Lei Lei nodded with a smile. Len Ning immediately lowered his claws and happily received all of Thunder's crystal cores into his space ring. I can't help it, your son is too good at eating. I'm afraid it won't last long. After collecting the crystal core, Len Ning said to Lei Lei with a plaintive look on his face. Lei Lei was stunned. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 527. How about we take time to go to the city center tomorrow, he said immediately. There are the most zombies in the central area of the city. Hunting zombies for a long time is just a way to earn food for Xiaoman and Xiaohui. He probably knew about Xiaoning's situation. During the last zombie wave, although she had not been involved in the war for a long time, the number of crystal cores she obtained was definitely a huge number. Because she took the crystal core during the battle, and the military department had special regulations that Xiaoning did not have to turn in the crystal core, so she took it all. But despite this, she is still crying about being poor. It seems that Xiaoman's appetite is indeed a bit scary. But this is understandable. After all, the military's demand for pills from pharmaceutical factories has surged, and Xiaoman provides all the raw materials for the drugs. Xiaoning has said before that the only way to increase Xiaoman's juice production is to feed it more crystal nuclei. Not tomorrow, Len Ning thought for a while and said. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning doubtfully. Teacher Zhang is coming to the Thunder Base tomorrow and has made an appointment with me, Len Ning explained. Lei Lei was stunned. After we chat, bring him to see me, then he said. Since Zhang Huai came to him to discuss cooperation, he has asked the Thunder Base for a lot of things. At present, Zhang Huai's status in Kuang Yian's base is no longer what it was before. Although he can't surrender with Kuang Lan yet, he can still do something to help him. Especially regarding the planning of safe zones. Okay. How about having lunch together? Len Ning asked with a smile. No, take him to my office to talk in the afternoon, Lei Lei said. After we talk, we will go out to help our son get food rations. Len Ning was startled. Then his face turned red. Our son, the eldest brother said so smoothly. Before Len Ning could reply, Lei Lei glanced at her. Yeah, Len Ning responded and glanced at Lei Ting, suspecting that he said that on purpose. It's getting late, I'm going back. Len Ning stood up. Lei Lei raised his wrist and looked at his watch. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Then he looked at Len Ning and said, stay with me for another half hour. That's it for today, I'm sleepy. Let's go. Len Ning smiled playfully at Lei Ting and rejected Lei Ting's request without hesitation. Then he squeezed his hands and walked towards the door triumphantly. Lei Lei raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said nothing. After Len Ning left, he stood up and walked towards the desk. It's still early, so I can look at 2 more documents. The next day. Not long after Len Ning arrived in Kongzhen for work, Li Feng let Zhang Huai there. Knock knock knock. Len Ning was studying the road from Kongtown to City B when there was a knock on the door. Come in. Len Ning looked up at the door. The door opened and it was Li Feng and Zhang Huai. Teacher Zhang. Len Ning put down the tablet in his hand, raised his wrist and looked at his watch. Quite on time then, he said with a smile and stood up. Then, he winked at Li Feng. Li Feng immediately clasped his fists at Len Ning and then exited the office. I was delayed on the way here, otherwise I should have arrived earlier. Zhang Huai took his eyes away from Li Feng and said to Len Ning with a smile. Please have a seat, please have a seat, Len Ning said to Zhang Huai as he walked towards the tea table. Yeah, Zhang Huai was not polite and walked towards the chair next to the tea table. After a while, the two of them sat down in their respective chairs. You're doing a good job here. Zhang Huai looked around Len Ning's office and said to Len Ning with a smile. Not only is it good, it can be considered luxurious. On the way here, he also saw some situations in Kongzhen. Earlier, he knew about the development of Kongzhen by the Thunder Base. I really didn't expect that they would build Kongtown to such a scale in such a short period of time. This is like a prosperous town before the apocalypse. Of course, relying on their own strength accumulation and the help of the Thunder Base, their Quanglan base has also developed very rapidly in the past few months. But compared with Kongzhen, that's really. In City A, there is only Thunder Base, which is really a paradise for survivors. The rest of the place, even the big base, can only be regarded as hell, but it is just a hell with slightly better conditions, and it is possible to be destroyed at any time. Not bad, Len Ning said with a smile. Start preparing tea. I didn't have my own place before, but now I'm settled. When Teacher Zhang comes, you can come here to see me. Yeah. As long as you don't mind me disturbing you, Zhang Huai said with a smile. Haha. What are you talking about? You are a busy person. I can't see you even once in a month or two, Len Ning replied with a smile. It's not that I don't want to come. It's just that things over there at Quanglan are cumbersome. Those people are keeping a close eye on me and don't dare to go out at will. Zhang Huai sighed. Zhang Lin has held the identity of the legitimate son of the Zhang family for many years, and the forces behind him are even more complicated. Although he has been trying to seize power and weaken his power, he has had little success. It's not that easy to bring down Zhang Lin. Haha, you are now the second young Master Zhang, a man of influence known to all major bases, who dares to restrict you, Lin Ning said in a joking tone. Stop teasing me. I came here just to ask for your help. Zhang Huai finally got to the point. Oh, Lin Ning was confused. Didn't you suggest that I kill Zhang Lin before? Zhang Huai's eyes became serious and he said in a deep voice. Lin Ning was stunned. Don't you say that Zhang Lin is your brother after all, and don't you want to kill him? He then asked. A flash of embarrassment flashed across Zhang Huai's face. Ahem, can't you just poke my mask? And then said frankly. This time he came alone, there was no one else around, so there was no need to pretend to be benevolent or righteous. The corners of Lin Ning's lips raised, with a look of helplessness. Teacher Zhang, I am also your student. It's really hard for me to know this. I really think highly of you. You are my proudest student. Zhang Huai took over the words, with a smile on his face again. Lei Xiao has power and strength, Zhang Lin has status and connections, and I only have the support of a few of their students. Wearing a mask is just for survival. Zhang Huai sighed. He didn't want to live an above-board life, but reality didn't allow it. It doesn't matter if he is a hypocrite, as long as he can win, he doesn't have so much ideological baggage. Ahem, okay. But now that your thunder power has reached the 3rd level and you have so much armed power, it shouldn't be difficult to kill Zhang Lin. Why do you need to come to me for help? It's not that simple. Zhang Huai looked serious. What's wrong? The water had already boiled, and Lin Ning began to rinse the tea set. Next comes the tea wash. Zhang Lin has a 3rd level or above lightning power user next to him, Zhang Huai said in a deep voice. Lin Ning was stunned. 3rd level thunder system? How come such masters are so common? I have fought against that person. He is indeed at level 3 or above of the thunder system, Zhang Huai continued. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 528. Lin Ning's eyes were slightly startled. You can reach the 3rd level of the thunder system with your own strength. It's strong enough, then he said, what level do you know? Be at the 3rd level, intermediate level like me. A complex look flashed across Zhang Huai's eyes. How could Zhang Lin be so virtuous and capable that such a master was willing to help him? Such a capable person did not serve openly in Quanglin's military headquarters, but was willing to hide beside Zhang Lin. Where did Zhang Lin get such charm? After learning that this person existed, he felt really uneasy. Only then did he come up with the idea of coming to Lin Ning. After all, it was Zhang Lin's side who rushed to the 3rd level of the thunder system without the blessing of pills. How could such a person not scare him? Now not only did he want and have the ability to kill Zhang Lin could also attack him at any time. Besides, this person Zhang Huai suddenly looked at Lin Ning. He looked nervous and his face became slightly pale. Lin Ning smiled and poured a cup of tea for Zhang Huai. Have a try. Zhang Huai's expression softened slightly. Thank you. Then he put away the nervousness on his face, picked up the teacup and started blowing the tea. What happened to that person? Lin Ning asked with a smile. Zhang Huai paused and put the teacup back on the table without drinking any tea. I've seen this man, he has scars on his face. Then he looked at Lin Ning and said. Lin Ning's heart trembled. What do you mean? His tone immediately became serious and cold. Have a scar on your face? When Han Yu disappeared in Hanzhou, according to Yan Yu, it was a man with a scar on his face who abducted her. Although I'm not sure, I estimate that he should be the one who kidnapped Han Yu in the first place, Zhang Huai said solemnly. So, this time, help me and help yourself. Lin Ning's pupils shrank. What do you want me to do, then? He looked at Zhang Huai. Yes or no, if you take the person down and question him, you will get the result. Han Yu, you have been hiding for long enough, it's time to come out. Zhang Huai smiled and said, This is what I've been waiting for. The phone line at Quanlan Base has been connected to Thunder Base. I will make arrangements in advance when I get back. Next time before Zhonglin and I go on a mission, I will call you to inform you. A hint of evil flashed in Zhang Huai's eyes. When the time comes, I'd like you to go out and join forces with me to kill Zhonglin. Capture that scar alive. Face. Don't call me directly, just contact Li Feng. Tell him to pick up goods No. 009 and the location, Len Ning said in a deep voice. Zhang Huai's eyes flashed, okay. After all, he is the leader of the fifth branch, and he is thoughtful in everything he does. To prevent your phone calls from being monitored, you do have to be careful. After so many things, he could no longer underestimate Zhonglin. Otherwise, if he is not careful, the person who loses his life is very likely to be himself. Picking up the teacup, Zhang Huai drank the tea at a suitable temperature. Green tea. Zhang Huai took another sip with satisfaction. It tastes good. If you like, I can give you some as a gift when I leave. I got these from the vegetable base. The smile returned to Len Ning's face. Thank you very much, Zhang Huai replied with a smile. Then the two of them went back and forth and started chatting about other things. It was rare for Zhang Huai to come to Len Ning. He was very curious about Kang Zhen's situation and soon asked Len Ning to take him out for a walk. Okay, I'll go out for a walk by the way, Len Ning agreed. She hasn't been to the vegetable base for some time, and is planning to visit it in the next 2 days. As for Kang Zhen town, she wasn't very interested. After all, she had only been there yesterday. So, the two of them walked out of the fifth branch office building while talking and laughing. Then, Len Ning personally took Zhang Huai around Kang Zhen. The first place we went to was the vegetable base. Because the entire vegetable base is huge, Len Ning drove Zhang Huai there. It's strange to say that there is no shortage of food in all major bases now, and we can even buy enough peripheral products from you. Even if the scale of this place is enough to feed the survivors of a city, it won't be a problem. Just one more city? Do you look down on me so much? Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth slightly and looked a little arrogant. This yang naturally comes from her self-confidence. The wood-type superpowers in the base have enough colorless crystal cores to use, and with the blessing of pills, the crop output of the vegetable base is increasing day by day. Now the surplus grain accumulated in the vegetable base is enough to use the Thunder base for half a year. It was also for this reason that she stepped up her efforts to start peripheral industries to deal with the problem of increasing crop production in vegetable bases. After all, the granary built in Kang Zhen is really unusable, and most of the food cannot be stored normally. Treasures like space jades are used as transportation carriers, but she has never thought of using them to store vegetables and grain in large quantities. Now, Kang Zhen not only has wineries, but also refineries, paper mills, and other abundant peripheral industries that can be related to crops. The 5th District and the military department are constantly thinking of ways to develop more related industries and factories in order to match the growing output of the vegetable base. As it stands now, the Thunder base has already taken over the daily necessities of almost all the bases in City A. It is not an exaggeration to even directly say that everyone in City A depends on Thunder base for their survival. And these were all carried out quietly. By the time the major bases discovered this, they were all unable to extricate themselves. Or rather, unwilling to extricate themselves. There are so many good things at such low prices, who would want to give them up after using them? Whatever the Thunder base provides, they no longer need to consider producing it themselves. With this free time, they might as well kill more zombies and use the crystal cores to go to the Thunder base to buy what they need. Of course, if we can find time to develop some industries that the Thunder base does not have. For example, some steel, cement, etc. factories can earn back some crystal cores by selling their goods to the Thunder base, right? After all, employment at the Thunder base has not stopped since the end of the world. Even if they built their own factories, they would not be able to meet their needs. Some far-sighted bases have made a lot of money by selling these things to the Thunder base. Of course, in the end, all the money was basically spent on purchasing goods from the Thunder base. You can make money by going out to hunt zombies and get crystal cores, and you can make money by setting up factories and doing business in the base. If you are short of weapons, you can go to the Thunder base to buy them. If you are short of daily necessities, you can go to the Thunder base to buy them. Because of the previous immigration, the major bases basically abandoned the old, weak, sick, and disabled, and most of the remaining workers were young and middle-aged workers. With everyone's labor output, the major bases began to have savings, at least they would not go hungry. Even after the Thunder continued to sell meat on a small scale, capable people in some wealthy bases were already living a subsistence life. In our class, including me, you are the most promising. Zhang Huai sighed. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 529. That's right, Len Ning said. Zhang Huai glanced at Len Ning. Ha 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 ha. Then he laughed out loud. I really don't know who will be lucky enough to marry you in the future. Then he said something like a sigh. Ha ha, you also know. A hint of embarrassment finally appeared on Len Ning's face. Zhang Huai's smile suddenly faded. I thought it was a rumor. Are you and Mr. Lei true? It's true. We'll get engaged next month, Len Ning admitted cheerfully. When he heard about the scandal between the two, he didn't take it seriously. But the news turned out to be more and more true, and he slowly became suspicious. Lei Xiao and Len Ning were 10 years apart. They had grown up as brothers and sisters, but now they were lovers. It was really shocking. But aside from their age gap and brother-sister relationship, the two are indeed a good match in terms of appearance and ability. However, for some reason, after hearing Len Ning's affirmative answer, he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Congratulations. Zhang Huai endured the strange feeling in his heart, smiled and said congratulations to Len Ning. Don't forget to send me a wedding invitation. Then he continued. Haha, of course I can't forget you, Len Ning said with a smile. Only at this moment did she realize that it was so satisfying to admit her relationship with her eldest brother and openly tell others that she was his fiancée. Seeing these achievements of yours, as a teacher, I can't help but feel proud, Zhang Huai sighed as he looked at the vast vegetable base. Don't worry, I will definitely make you prouder in the future, Len Ning said playfully. His eyes were full of confidence. Haha, we'll see, Zhang Huai replied with a smile. It's almost there. There's still some time left. I'll take you for a walk in the town. Then we'll find a place to have lunch. Len Ning looked at his watch and said. After lunch, she had to take him to meet her eldest brother. The eldest brother had asked her to go out in the afternoon to earn food for her two foodies, so she couldn't bear to waste any time. Okay, let's go, Zhang Huai said easily. He was busy with affairs in the Quanglin base. Even if he occasionally had free time, he would always think about Zhang Lin's affairs. He was always wary of Zhang Lin's plotting and did not dare to relax at all. It is really pleasant to come here, chat with this student, and take a leisurely look at the scenery. It's a pity that he won't be able to stay for long before he has to leave this paradise and go back to the deceitful hell again. You have to work hard to get rid of those troubles as soon as possible and move to heaven. Thinking of this, Zhang Huai secretly encouraged himself. Then, Len Ning took Zhang Huai back to Kongzhen town. The streets of Kongzhen are very prosperous, with various shops lined up, and businesses have already settled in, making it very lively. Len Ning didn't want to walk. He just slowed down the car and took Zhang Huai for a stroll on the main road. When he came across a store that Zhang Huai was interested in, he stopped for a while. This place is a large shopping mall we planned. It will be a landmark building in Kongzhen in the future, Len Ning explained to Zhang Huai when they came to an open space under construction. This was Li Feng's suggestion, saying that even if the construction of the safety zone is completed in the future, the future of Kongtown will not be as simple as a small town. Kongzhen is the territory of their fifth branch. As long as they have money, they must try their best to make it more perfect. When she thought about it, she felt it made sense, so she approved it. It really makes no sense not to improve your own nest. Anyway, with the vegetable base, the golden chicken that lays golden eggs, their fifth branch will not be poor. It's a pity that I don't have the household registration of Thunder Base, so I can't buy a house here. Zhang Huai sighed with a smile. Before the end of the world, he had experienced the boom in housing prices in China for more than 10 years. Many people had achieved a class jump by speculating in real estate. Now Kongzhen, and even the entire Thunder Base, has huge potential. Haha, you are not the first person to have such an idea. Len Ning smiled. Thunder Base is really good to the residents inside the base, but it is not so friendly to those outside. There will be a maximum limit on the amount of things you can buy, and buying property is completely prohibited. Good things should be kept close to one's own family first, don't you think? No problem, you can join. Because of these favorable conditions, small bases previously joined the Thunder Base in droves. In their view, first come, first served means big profits. Moreover, in these last days, their own strength is weak. If they don't take refuge in the Thunder Base, they will be defeated by the zombie wave sooner or later. Instead of this, merging into the Thunder Base is simply the best choice. Other large bases are different. Their base owners have their own plans, and many of them even hope to compete with the Thunder Base and want to make a career. She could only say that these measures were very wise to prevent the Thunder Base from being infiltrated by outsiders. I really want to move to your place as soon as possible. Zhang Huai sighed. Sooner or later, Mr. Lei will conquer the entire city. The sooner he comes in, the sooner he can take advantage. Then you have to work hard, Len Ning said with a smile. It's getting late. It's rare for you to come here, why don't you go to Lin's for a meal? Len Ning looked at his watch and said to Zhang Huai. Anyway, I was going to take teacher Zhang to see my eldest brother in the afternoon, so I just happened to go back to Lishan. Besides, she had said before that she would invite teacher Zhang to Lin's food. Zhang Huai's eyes lit up. That will cost you money. He naturally knew the name of Lin's restaurant. We knew it before the end of the world, and we will know it even more after the end of the world. That restaurant can now be regarded as one of the living signs of the Thunder Base. Ha, I'm overthinking it. Boss Lin gave me face and I can eat for free, Len Ning said with a smile and started to turn the car around. Zhang Huai was stunned. He is quite sensible, he then said. Haha, teacher Zhang, you are good at talking. Len Ning laughed out loud. Tell the truth. Zhang Huai pretended to be serious. Yeah. I like your honesty. In this way, the two of them went to Lishan chatting. With this meal, Zhang Huai finally experienced what the world's most delicious food is. First, there are sumptuous dishes, a variety of meat dishes. Next, there is the chef's superb and mysterious cooking techniques. In short, because people generally don't have enough to eat or are malnourished after the end of the world, he just felt that this was the best meal he had ever eaten in his life. It was so delicious that he almost felt full. It's getting late, why don't we walk slowly to the military headquarters? Just think of it as a snack after dinner, Len Ning said to Zhang Huai with a smile. The eldest brother will not leave his office if nothing happens. He should probably finish his meal now. After finishing the conversation earlier, she could go out hunting zombies with her elder brother earlier. Okay, let's walk there. Zhang Huai then stood up. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 530. Before leaving, I still reluctantly glanced at the remaining dishes on the table. Such a good thing is such a waste. Len Ning took Zhang Huai and walked slowly towards the military headquarters. Along the way, Zhang Huai looked at the busy flow of people on the street and the various shops on the street, feeling envious in his heart. From time to time, he asked Len Ning some questions about the place. The two of them chatted and laughed before arriving at the military headquarters. With Len Ning leading them, the two of them arrived at Lei Lei's office without any hindrance. Zhang Huai was once again shocked by the magnificence of the military office building at Thunder Base, as well as the tight security and discipline here. I thought to myself that only a place like this should be called military headquarters. Compared to this place, their Kulan military headquarters is really. Wait a moment, Len Ning said to Zhang Huai with a smile. He asked Zhang Huai to stop and knocked on the door of Lei Lei's office. Come in. Thunder's voice soon came from inside. Let's go. Len Ning turned around and said to Zhang Huai with a smile, then directly unlocked the door and walked in. In the office, Lei Lei was reading documents. Seeing that Len Ning was coming, he immediately put down the documents. Then, when he saw Zhang Huai coming in, the smile that had been rising slightly on his lips suddenly subsided. Brother, are you busy? Len Ning asked Lei Ting with a smile. Just sat down after lunch, Lei Lei replied. I've seen Mr. Lei. Zhang Huai walked to the center of the room and said to Lei Lei, cupping his fists. Yeah. Sit down and talk, Lei Lei responded. His eyes only stayed on Zhang Huai for a moment, and then looked at Len Ning. Sit down, Teacher Zhang. Len Ning smiled and said to Zhang Huai, walking towards the sofa not far away. Thank you, Mr. Lei, Zhang Huai said to Lei Ting, and then followed Len Ning to sit down on the sofa. I haven't heard from you for a long time. Why didn't you say anything when you came here this time? Lei Lei asked Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai's heart tightened. Go back to Mr. Lei. Zhang Lin is keeping an eye on me. He doesn't dare to contact the military rashly, he quickly explained to Lei Lei. Really? Lei Lei said lightly. Yes, Zhang Huai quickly replied. Lei Lei looked at Zhang Huai and said no more. Ahem. Seeing Zhang Huai being speechless by the pressure of thunder, Len Ning broke the silence with a voice. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning and then put away his aura. Zhang Huai suddenly felt relieved and his breathing became smooth again. Why did you come to see Xiao Ning this time? Lei Lei asked again. Just as Zhang Huai was about to reply, he saw Len Ning wink at him. Doubts suddenly arose in my heart. Just ask Hall Master Len to buy supplies, Zhang Huai said. Gave up on telling the truth. Now looking at the entire city, apart from Len Ning, the only person in front of him who has the ability to help him deal with the third-level Lightning Master is the one in front of him. Mr. Lei has a high position and is responsible for everything. If he is approached, he will definitely not be willing to take action. And he didn't have the guts to make such a request to him. In this case, the only one who can help him is Len Ning. Len Ning and Mr. Lei are now an unmarried couple. If he knew that he was asking Len Ning to help him do something dangerous, he was afraid that he would stop them. In this way, his plan to kill Zhang Lin could not proceed. Besides, judging from Len Ning's intentions, she didn't want Mr. Lei to know about it. So, it's better to be bold enough to hide it. As long as Zhang Lin is removed, his life will be easier in the future. As long as Len Ning doesn't say anything about this, no one else will know about it. Lei Lei's eyes were deep and he looked at Zhang Huai for 5 seconds. It's just like this, do you need to go there in person? Then he asked in a deep voice. Zhang Huai's face suddenly panicked. Ahem. That's really it, Len Ning said quickly. Teacher Zhang came to me to discuss the paper mill business. Len Ning glanced at Zhang Huai. Toilet paper products are in extremely short supply on the market right now, and paper mills can't keep up with their production capacity. He told me before that he wanted to take over this business. But I didn't agree. No, I'm here in person this time, Len Ning said. This is true. Quanglin Base really wants to use Teacher Zhang to get some work from her. Among them, the paper mill business is what they most want to take over. And she has been thinking about this. Now, in order to solve the problem, she might as well agree. Anyway, she has nothing to lose by agreeing and can gain additional benefits. You know, there are really too many straws and the like that are discarded every day in vegetable bases. Because the paper mill cannot consume them all, most of these items are incinerated. That's it. In order to burn these wastes, you need time to wait for them to become slightly dry, so that they can be easily burned. But as a result, these wastes pile up more and more, which becomes a big problem. In order to solve this problem, she also asked the firepower users of the fifth branch to use firepower to forcibly burn the waste. Only in this way can the problem be properly solved. But this is not a long-term solution. First of all, there are too many wastes, and relying on superpowers to burn them with fire is actually quite inefficient. Secondly, burning these things in large quantities will produce a large amount of dust. These incompletely burned dust will float into the air, causing great air pollution. Regarding the current situation, some residents in Kongtown have already complained to the fifth branch. Selling these wastes to Kwanglan Base is also a good thing. It not only disposes the waste, but also makes money. Of course, I have to say that Kwanglan Base is also very smart. Whether it is toilet paper, printing paper, letterhead paper, etc., these are all consumables that people cannot live without and need them frequently. Once they set up the business from the beginning, they can make long-term profits based on this. Moreover, even overcapacity is not terrible. Paper has a very long shelf life and can be mass-produced and stockpiled. When it is possible to contact the outside world for transactions, these goods can be sold to other places besides City A. The development of the Thunder Base is so good that all major bases are now eager to cooperate with the Thunder Base and subcontract some business from the Thunder Base. It's a pity that so far, no base has been successful. She has now promised to provide Teacher Zhang with the discarded materials from the vegetable base to make raw materials for the paper mill at the Kwanglan Base, which can be regarded as opening the door. Konglan is indeed very willing to do this. My father personally asked me to come over and interview Hall Master Leng Zhonghui quickly took over Len Ning's words. Did Len Ning agree to the paper factory? What an unexpected surprise. With the paper mill business, even if Kwanglan merges with Thunder, he won't have to worry about being able to support his people. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning. Seeing Len Ning nod at him, he believed it. From now on, I will contact the fifth branch at least once every half-month to report the current situation of Kwanglan Base, Lei Lei said in a deep voice. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 531. Yes, Zhonghui responded quickly. What's going on at Kwanglan Base recently? Lei Lei's expression finally softened. Zhonghui paused for a moment. The biggest trend is to cooperate with the Thunder Base to set up a factory. Actually, Kwanglan has inspected many projects, but none of them have been finalized. Only the second City Lord's transfer factory has already chosen an address. The third City Lord wants to build a cement factory, and I heard that he is already recruiting people, Zhonghui said. Thunder frowned. That's it? Seeing Lei Ting's expression, Zhonghui felt a little flustered again. In addition, years ago, Kwanglan Base invited two major bases, Dingsheng and Hengzin, to discuss alliance cooperation. We hope to achieve deeper cooperation based on the original mutual assistance. How is the situation? Lei Lei asked in a deep voice. Deeper collaboration? They just want to unite as a team to fight against the Thunder Base. On the contrary, he had some foresight and predicted that sooner or later he would take action on the major bases. The construction of the safe zone is imminent, and their small actions are destined to have no effect. We haven't reached an agreement, Zhonghui replied. Seeing that Lei Lei and Len Ning both looked like they were waiting for him to continue, Zhonghui continued, Each of the three major bases has their own selfish motives, and they all want to take the lead and become the boss. The result is that no one obeys the other. So, no agreement was reached. Len Ning burst out laughing. Seeing Lei Lei and Zhang Huai looking at him, they quickly waved their hands in embarrassment. Is it so fun to be the boss? Wouldn't it be nice to live a peaceful and happy life? Then he said with a smile. Thunder and Zhang Huai were stunned for a moment. Especially Jac. From the time he can remember, what he has wanted to do is to get recognition from his father and achieve something. Safe and happy? These were two words he had almost never thought of before. On his trip to the Thunder base today, he met so many Jinghe people, which touched him greatly. Ambition was a word he once defined as a complimentary word. But looking at it now, perhaps it should be viewed more as a derogatory connotation. The Thunder base is now so powerful that it is definitely not something that father and the others can resist by combining several large bases. Ambition without strength can only lead to self-destruction. Lei Lei was also shocked by Len Ning's words. Since the end of the world, Thunder base has developed rapidly and well. The people below, including himself, had many bold ideas. Looking back, wasn't his original intention of establishing the Thunder base just to protect himself? The safe zone is being prepared now, just to gather all the survivors in City A and let everyone unite to deal with the zombies in order to seek long-term safety. But many times, he can't help but think more and think further. And if he wants to get those things, the time, energy, and thought he has to devote will be immeasurable. In fact, victory or defeat is destined to be unpredictable, and the future is uncertain. He once thought that Xiao Ning had the same idea as him, but now he found that this was not the case. Although Xiao Ning has always been very ambitious and even became the leader of his subordinates, all she wants is to accompany and help her. What she wanted was peace and happiness, not ambition and power. Looking at Len Ning's innocent and cute smile, Lei Lei felt a faint sense of guilt in his heart. Ambition and desire will only make people get lost and fall into the dilemma of never being satisfied. All he has to do is take good care of Xiao Ning and his mother, make sure they are safe and happy, and that's all. Don't worry, Mr. Lei, I will try my best to destroy the tripartite alliance. I will not let Kuanglan and Thunder base confront each other. Zhang Huai came to his senses and hurriedly said to Thunder. Lei Lei glanced at Zhang Huai. No, just wait and see what happens. If you find anything wrong, contact us in time, Lei Lei said. Zhang Huai has such a close relationship with them. It's strange that Zhang Lan would listen to what he said. If it is not done well, it will be self-defeating and the gain will not be worth the loss. At the moment, Xiao Ning has agreed to deliver the raw materials from the paper mill to Kuanglan's base, which has given Kuanglan such a big benefit. The other two bases are bound to have other ideas. It would be even more difficult for them to succeed in the three-party alliance. Of course, unless Kuanglan chooses to abandon the paper mill at this time. But is this possible? If Kuanglan lets go, there will probably be more bases wanting to take over this business. If you miss this time, Kuanglan will have no chance to cooperate with Thunder base in the future. Therefore, he really has no worries about this matter. Yes, Zhang Huai said quickly. The plan to build a safe zone is almost ready. This is a rough planning map. Take a look. Lei Lei took out a map from his space ring and put it on the desk. Zhang Huai's eyes lit up and he quickly got up to get it. After unfolding it, his expression immediately changed when he saw the outlined area. The safe zone is built next to Kuanglan base. From the map, Kuanglan base is right next to the edge of the safe zone. The distance is only about 1 kilometer. With such a close distance, my father would definitely be furious if he knew about it. Any comments? Lei Lei looked at Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai's expression changed slightly, and he quickly clasped his fists and saluted Thunder. Master Lei, why don't you include Kuanglan base in the safe zone? At such a short distance, directly incorporating Kuanglan base should have little impact on the overall construction situation. In this way, if Quanglin merges with Thunder in the future, he won't have to make a special trip to move. After all, the territory of Quanglin base is now completely enough for him. Len Ning was slightly startled. She thought Teacher Zhang was going to tell her elder brother to build the safe zone farther away from Quanglin base. Unexpectedly, he would take the initiative to ask Quanglin base to be included in the safe zone. It seems that his determination to return to the Thunder base is really firm. Thinking of this, Len Ning immediately looked at Lei Ting. Sure enough, Lei Lei's expression softened a lot. The construction process of Quanglin's area is at the end. If you can return with Quanglin before the construction of that area, the construction plan of the safe zone can be slightly adjusted, Lei Lei said solemnly. Although the facilities in the Quanglin base are not good enough, they were built by the Zhang family with a lot of money and effort. It saves trouble if you can use it directly. Of course he knows Zhang Huai's thoughts, and he can agree. After all, in the future, Quanglin will be reunited and we will be a family. Besides, Xiao Ning gave him the paper mill business. In the future, the paper mill at Quanglin base will also be a major industry in the Thunder security zone. If a large factory relocates, it will be troublesome to mobilize a large number of people when the time comes. Thank you, Mr. Lei, Zhang Huai quickly saluted Lei Lei excitedly. Lei Lei pressed his hand to Zhang Huai and motioned for him to sit down. Zhang Huai hurriedly returned the map to Lei Ting, returned to the sofa and sat down. Besides these, is there anything else going on in Kuanglan? Lei Lei looked at Zhang Huai and continued to ask. Zhang Huai was stunned. What else? My mind began to quickly think about whether there was something important that I had forgotten to say.